Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Tuesday, June 23rd, year of our Lord 2026. My Picardo's watch tells me it's 9:10 a.m. Broadcasting today from the United States of America. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. It's the place where the brave, like the veterans we salute today, thanks to John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care senior living community. Like Harry Reese, Avoca, Rudolph Jubei, Hazleton, John Romanowski, Clark Summit, Ronald Gimby, Whitehaven, John Moscon, Drums, and Michael Devaney of Bern Township. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our amazing, irreplaceable, and profoundly wise founding fathers, who knew that government should not be and did everything they could to make sure it could not be. Our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation. Not any of these things, because they knew that government power, because of human nature and its abuse of power, should only be unnecessary evil designed to protect and organize society, and not much more. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared by law to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom couldn't be parceled out to groups. It couldn't be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and even freedom of the press, no matter how it's used and abused. Now, because they were armed with these freedoms, these Americans, well, and it was only because of these freedoms, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, many of them rejects from around the world, they and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. Yes, we mean the double entendre. And so, with that essential preamble dispensed with, we gavel to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our total, immersive, immovable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here for the balance of this singular, extraordinary morning. And as we see the rise of socialist Democrats, a gentle warning: this is not a safe harbor for stupidity. Such idiocy will be roundly and, dare I say, harshly attacked throughout the program. We will not suffer fools gladly. Their foolishness and ignorance, willful or otherwise, will be called out with intent, purpose, and vigor. Designed, and sadly in today's climate, necessary to save our great republic from evil, senselessness, and weakness, which can even now bring down this 250-year noble, incredibly successful experiment. Well, guys, great to be with you again today. You know that. By the way, you could check us out on live stream. Go to YouTube. And YouTube, just put Bob Cordaro Show, WILK, and you will find us. And the program live streaming. I'm wearing today my all-time great shirt. So it's got that, it's a black with an American flag, blue. And It's a great shirt. Just love it. Anyway, all that's brought to you by our friends at Roach Supply. They are the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania, celebrating 75 years in business. Now, what does that mean when somebody's 75 years in business, fourth generation? Ron Roach, at 95 years old, veteran, is still at the helm. And 2 generations, maybe 3, but I think 2, are working for him. Visit Roach Supply, R-O-C-H-E, roachsupply.com today. They're physically located in Honesdale, and they own Chaplain Supply in South Abington Township as well. So we got a lot going on. We got a lot we can do today. Rick Bigelow's going to be on. Always talking with him. We love that history. And what is past is prologue. Please let us remember this. And the other part, on our 250th anniversary, we've got to understand the greatness of the American legacy and what these amazing people did to preserve not just this country, but the world. The courage that these people were off the charts. They call them the greatest generation. Tom Brokaw coined the phrase. Well, let me say this. I don't know that people change that much over time. They were great, period. We talked about Normandy invasion a couple of weeks ago. Come on. These people are unbelievable. And this is why we like to relive and rediscuss our history, because it is so amazing and should be inspiring. Think of this, and I say it all the time, and I want you to remember this, and I want you to spread this to friends, neighbors of a common sense mind. Don't deal with the clowns. And why would you waste your breath? Talk about cherry pie with them. No, what I would tell you is, we're not called to storm the beaches of Normandy into withering gunfire. We're called to vote common sense and vote these Democrat bums out. There could be some good Democrats. We don't know. I shouldn't say that. I know some. And I'm talking about even elected officials. But here's the problem. And I say this to them. So now you feel compelled to support lunatic Democrats and awful Democrats like Josh Shapiro that have contributed nothing, that are nothing but big balls of ambition. Ambition and greed on wheels. Greed for power on wheels. Josh Shapiro and, of course, our mayor, Cognetti. Running for the next office before they get into the one they're holding. And they don't care what they do. They care how they're perceived. They care how it's sold. I'm sure Mayor Cognetti said, well, I get some pictures. I'll get a picture with a minority business, and I'll be able to use that in a future campaign. Well, they turned out to be drug dealers. The business was a front. And if she communicated with our cops, she would have known that. But she doesn't. Music Man texts in, Bob LTS always. Back at you. Could you replay that breakup letter that was read at the opening of the show? Awesome. At some point, we keep it fresh here, Music Man. It's just, you know what it is, Music Man, is this. I want you to be afraid to miss a part of this program because you may never hear that again. You may hear something similar. You may hear something in the same vein. But I want you to say, I better tune in. I better hearken. and be part of this team. Be part of this huge dysfunctional family that I absolutely love and love to hang around with. It may make it back. It may not. You don't know. We've got so much. There's so much more. Tomorrow there's more. And the next day there's more. And we're constantly working, and people are constantly helping me, providing the information and things that we need to get across. And then with Donald Trump and with the haters who hate him, there's something happening every day. There's lies every day. Tens of millions of dollars are going to be spent for Paige Cognetti to make you believe lies, to make you believe she's a decent mayor. Awful, incompetent, disastrous for the city I love and live in, Scranton. That Rob Bresnahan, he trades in illegal stocks, and Rob Bresnahan cuts Medicare and Medicaid. They actually had pictures of three idiots saying that Rob Bresnahan cut their Medicaid and Medicare. Total, utter lies. They should be ashamed of themselves, these people. You allowed yourself, by the way, if they even exist. So we've got a battle. We play that song Mark Mayer provided us by Levon Helm at least once a day. The battle is over, but the war goes on. Yeah, that's 24. The battle was over. The war goes on. Democrats, socialists. The Democrat Party has been completely taken over by sick, twisted, and evil people. There's not even a doubt of that. It's sad. And all they have is how disgusting Orange Man is. Cabinet guy reminding us we couldn't get a pool in Naog for poor kids, middle-class kids, working-class kids to go up and enjoy themselves. Paige Cognetti couldn't get a pool in 5 years. You know, she actually asked, do you know how much water they use? Yeah, that's sort of the point. So they put this crappy splash pad in place of the pool. And as cabinet guy reminds us, oh, wait, it's broken already. Way to go, Paige. Yep. It's insanity. And they'll tell you they're great. Oh, she's a good mayor. Please. It's an absentee disgrace of a mayor. Awful, awful, awful. And now she wants to spread her damage further. It's our job not to let that happen. She wants to be a member of the squad. She wants to be one of the clowns, Democrats, socialists, worried about urinals in City Hall instead of the fact that City Hall's falling down around her. Quite amazing. Somebody texts in, Bob LTS, I've never seen a congressional campaign spend so much money on a congressional seat. I'm going back to Joe McDade, Dan Flood when they ran and won. Paige Cognetti's congressional campaign is off the charts. Every time I turn on the TV or an internet or my mailbox, a negative ad or flyer about Rob Bresnahan saying he cut Medicaid and rise for gas price inflation. Yeah, Paige Cognetti gave the guy who not only was a corrupt scumbag, Joe Biden, she gave him a street along with Shapiro Street and an expressway that are the embarrassment to the world for the people of Northeast Pennsylvania. As if we don't know any better about this scumbag. It's insane. That's her only accomplishment. And it reflects incredibly negatively on all of us. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with every hour, this day, as with every day, brought to you proudly, dutifully, patriotically by our man, John Basiliga. Today, it's Tuesday, so we feature the Serenity Care personal care community he has built. 4 locations, Mid-Valley, section of Lackawanna County, Old Forge, Wyoming, Kingston. Dementia care units at the Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. All 4 of these beautiful living facilities have been completely renovated inside and out, just at the Old Forge place last week. John has a passion for providing the highest quality senior care in this area and beautiful personal care homes for seniors to live in, and he's gotten it done. Serenity Care, a place for you, your family member, and you'd be proud to have them live there. Harry Reese. We lost this veteran at age 97 on June 12th. Formerly of Avoca and Music, he was a resident of West Falls for 65 years. He was a lab technician for Woodlawn Dairy in Scranton from 1948 to 1983. He served with the 82nd Airborne, stationed in Fairbanks, Alaska, after graduating from Avoca High School. He was predeceased by his wife, Thelma, back in 2015. Sadly, 2 sons, 2 brothers. He's also survived by an adopted sister. Harry Reese. Rudolph Jubei. We lost him June 8th at age 96. He was from Hazleton. Born in that city. Member of the parish of St. Cyril and Methodius at the Church of St. Joseph. A veteran, he served all of us in the U.S. Marine Corps during the Korean War and attained the rank of corporal. Prior to retiring, he was employed at Myers Lumberyard, Redmond Industries, and last at Weiss Market. He's preceded in death by his wife, Eleanor, a daughter, survived by 2 other children, though, 4 grandchildren, nieces, nephews. Rudolph Jubei, our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care senior living communities. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resort. The water park's open, and it's great. It's just comfortable. It's relaxing. The food's great. Just the whole package. Today, it'll be cloudy this morning with a couple of showers, followed by clouds giving way to some sun, high of 76. Tonight, crystal clear sky, they say, low 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and pleasant, high 82, low 54. Thursday, increasing cloudiness with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high 84, low 63. Friday, times of clouds and sun with a shower in places, humid, high 78, low 62. Saturday, cloudy and humid with a shower possible, high 81, low 60. And that's your weather, brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resort and their water park, where it is 63 degrees right now. Yes, it does feel good, doesn't it? Oh, and that tells us, that great theme song tells us Tina Morocco's into house. Global sales advisor at Sotheby's Realty, Naples, Florida. She is your trusted guide for Florida real estate, and you need to trust somebody that they know what they're doing and they're working for you. That's Tina Morocco. You can reach her at Sotheby's in Naples or go right to the source, Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com, or on any social media, Tina Morocco. Here she is. How are you, Tina?
Hey, Bob. I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, we need the sunshine this morning, and we're going to get some this afternoon, but so I'm happy we got to play the theme song.
Well, it's sunny and 87 here.
Nice. Well, don't be rubbing it in.
Sometimes I have to.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're only telling the truth. There's nothing we can do about that. So what's on your mind today?
So we were talking about flights, and the last time I was on the show, and I was thinking about pilots. We have a lot of pilots that live in Southwest Florida because we do have so many airports. And I wanted to tell you about one of the most unusual requests I got from a buyer who's a pilot. He actually lives in my neighborhood. And he said, Tina, I'm looking for somewhere to store my airplane, and I don't want to put it at the Naples airport. What can you do? And I was like, not sure. Like, what do you do in that scenario? However, believe it or not, I didn't know about this. And
well, you don't say not sure for very long. You figured this out. You figured this out.
We did some investigating, and believe it or not, in Naples, pretty close to the airport, pretty close to downtown, we have a little community. It's called Wing South Air Park. And Wing South Air Park is for pilots mostly. You don't have to be a pilot to live there, but it's homes that are connected to a hangar. So you can store your airplane attached to your house. And Wing South Air Park is a gated community with amenities like a regular community, except for it has a 4,400 runway, 4,400 square foot runway that you can take off from. So not only can you store your plane there, but you can take off from there. There's a fuel club there, so you have fuel on site. So pretty much everything you need as a pilot or a hobbyist pilot, you know, that is right there. So I was fascinated. There's only 59 lots in this air park, and the homes aren't, you know, outrageously expensive. They range from, you know, around, I think the list price now, the lowest list price is around $750 to like $1.5 million. But to have a hangar, or if you don't have to have a plane there, I mean, you can build a big garage if you're a car collector, I mean, for 8 cars. You know what I mean? So It's really a cool place. And then I was doing some more investigating, and this is the only one in Naples, but there's also one in Fort Myers. Believe it or not. So it's just an interesting concept, one that I wasn't familiar with. But you know, if you're into planes, there's a community for you in Naples.
Fascinating. Well, you know, there's a lot of people I know, and I'll tell you what, my wife got me a lesson, a flying lesson, back 40 years ago. It has to be, and I loved it. Maybe not 40 years ago, 30 years ago. And I loved it, but I never followed up. But a lot of people I know have. And as crazy as today's prices are, you can sometimes buy a plane for as much as a car.
Exactly.
And people, they'll take a couple of hops down and fly down, and they really do have control of their own agenda.
Yeah, definitely. So where I live, the flight path of the Naples airport goes right over our house. And like I said, we have a couple pilots that live in my neighborhood. And so they have this flight tracker app, so they can always tell where the planes are coming and going from and what kind of plane it is. It's really cool.
Flight aware.
So,
Well, that's great. Well, that's how we caught I won't bring you into this, but that's how we caught the illegals coming into our airport through FlightAware, one of our great listeners. But
oh my gosh.
Tina, thank you so much. So we could fly
Absolutely.
right to the darn house in Florida.
Exactly.
I love it. Well, and, you know, and it just points out the breadth of your knowledge of the area and the needs of your clients, and it points out that there are so many options in Southwest Florida in particular.
Exactly. And if I don't know it, I'll figure it out.
All right. Tina Maraca, thank you so much.
Absolutely, boss.
That's our gal, Tina Maraca, Global Sales Advisor at Premier Sotheby's International Realty, Naples, Florida. You can reach her through Sotheby's in Naples or Tina Maraca, MURACCO.com, or Tina Maraca on any social media, and she'll get back to you. I promise. Walking on sunshine. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Neat. This date, 1958. Murph tells us a new singer debuted on the charts. Bobby Darin's first hit, Splish Splash. I thought that was Chubby Checker or somebody, you know? That gives you a little, his Bobby Darin, he's Mac the Knife Guy, right? And our friend, Chris DiMatteo, apparently does a great Bobby Darin. Well, not apparently, I saw him do it at the Festa Italiana. He does Sinatra primarily, but he'll also do Bobby Darin. Good stuff. Anyway, Mark the Shark reminds me, Congressman Muser told me this. He's bringing in Trump to the Mack truck facility in Lehigh Valley, PA. Macungie, actually. That was, so thank you for that, Mark the Shark, for the reminder. I need to be reminded. But it's really ridiculous. If you don't remind me of something, I mean, the presidential visit into our area is a big deal. And I would have forgotten about it if Mark the Shark didn't remind me. And I had a congressman tell me it was happening. And I was like, wow. Anyway, but I'm very happy that, and see, it shows what a powerful team Muser and Bresnahan are. Trump coming to the area. And it doesn't matter what you think of Donald Trump. Number one, I always tell you this, and you know it, by the way. His policies are great. It's common sense. His execution has been outstanding. B+. You have operations like the Maduro operation in Venezuela. That's a straight A. That's an A+, actually. The final exam for Iran has yet to have been taken. We're going to see how it flushes out. It was worth what we've done so far. But remember, as bad as the agreement was, the JCPOS of the Obama administration, and you know what POS means. But the JCPOS, as bad as the agreement was, the implementation was worse. And the Iranians ran hog wild. Let us see. And by the way, the crazy part and scary part is you could have a Democrat president. And I look at the field of candidates for 2028, it is actually disgusting and sickening. Pete Buttigieg, yeah, the guy who he spent $90 billion on DEI in the Department of Transportation, but didn't update the traffic control system. Yeah, the guy who pretended he'd get a ride to within a quarter mile of his office and then take his bike out of the SUV. These are phonies beyond compare. Gavin Newsom, who I think is going to get indicted. His wife certainly will. They have been stealing from the people of California. They've been destroying lives and an amazing economy. You just look across. AOC is actually in the consideration. She's lighter than air. And then you have Kamala Harris, the leading light in the Democrat Party. It is almost insane. You would think we're making it up. My Ricardo Jewelers watch tells me that it's just about 9:50, and that means it's time for the Bloomberg Money Minute. can't you see? Murph tells us Smokey Robinson, this date 1965. It seems like a much more contemporary song, doesn't it? I mean, you think about it, that's 60 years ago. Anyway, he and the Miracles released their hit, The Tracks of My Tears, this date, that year. Bob Cordaro back with you. And of Harry Truman, the Senate and the House, they were Republican at the time. They overrode President Harry S. Truman's veto of the Taft-Hartley Act, designed to limit the power of organized labor. Really, the only labor that we have problems in this country are the government employee unions. They're the problem. Because, and not necessarily the individual union members, but it's forced union membership, number one. It's forced union dues, number two. And they use the union dues for a left-wing lunatic agenda, whether it's the teachers' union or SEIU, and they work hand in glove with the bureaucrats to increase the bureaucracy and its power, in addition to all kinds of left-wing insanity. That's the one that they should be rated. In fact, they shouldn't even exist. You need to have civil service protections for government employees, but not unions. Why would you organize against the American people? Should not happen. Pinebrook Johnny texts in. He says, Trump favorability in PA, 29%. Trump's rating on the economy in PA, 19%. Bresnahan is toast. And that's in all caps from Pinebrook Johnny. Well, Pinebrook Johnny, there's a few months before the election. And the thing that matters is that they had a statistical tie between Bresnahan and Paige Cognetti. And the truth is coming out about Paige Cognetti's horrendous administration and her left-wing views. One of our great listeners, JB, sent me an article. It was actually on Channel 16 and Fox and all that. Scranton mayor affirms support for Biden after Kids for Cash commutation. Remember that stupid old fool gave a commutation to Mike Conahan. And people went crazy about it. Biden didn't even know he did it. But Paige had no problem with that. And then you look at her actions during the COVID. Yeah, she was mayor during COVID. You couldn't go into City Hall. And by the way, you can barely get in there now because there's no transparency. See, they do the exact opposite of what they say, the left-wing lunatics, like Paige Cognetti. City parks. They remain accessible during the state of emergency, declared March 20th in 2020. However, those who utilize the park should, as a matter of public health and safety, refrain from the use of playground equipment. She had no clue. They had no clue what they were doing. during this insanity. Now, here's an interesting, just something that struck me. In the Declaration of Emergency by Paige Cognetti, all non-essential hearings and meetings, including for boards, commissions, and authorities, for the purpose of official city business, shall be canceled during the state of emergency. Now, a normal, common sense person would say, well, if we can cancel their meetings, they mustn't be doing anything that important. Well, one of the ones that had their meetings canceled was the Task Force on the Unhoused, some other ridiculous woke name like that, regarding homelessness in Scranton. Well, it was exposed that the problem is massive in Scranton, and Cognetti's done nothing about it. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had these homeless people attacking people on Lackawanna Avenue in Scranton. It was a major incident. The newspaper helped cover it up. 9 people had to be arrested. People went to the hospital from getting attacked by the homeless. And where was Mayor Cognetti campaigning out of town, raising money out of town? So she's going to be exposed despite your best hopes, Pine Brook Johnny. And by the way, if you like the way she's running the city, there's something wrong with you. There just is. My gosh. And so why you would take joy out of that. But despite all of, I'm talking millions of dollars in negative ads against Rob Bresnahan, one of the most effective first-term congressmen in the history of the U.S. Congress. Despite all those negative ads, which started before he even was sworn in, saying that he was cutting Medicaid and Medicare. The lies started before he even took office. Anyway, they're in a statistical dead heat, which means Cognetti's in trouble and she's going to get exposed. And that's what's going to happen. All right. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We have to take a break because my Bacardo Jewelers watch says it's 10:02. Let's do that. Let's do the news. We'll come back. Rick Bigelow is with us. We're going to take a walk in history because it's a big deal and it's important we do it. We'll be back. Great good morning, everyone. It's 10:09 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch this beautiful Tuesday, June 23rd, year of our Lord 2026, here in the great Northeast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care personal care community, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John, like Rudolph Jubei, Hazelton, Harry Reese, Avoca, Music, and West Falls, John Romanowski, Clark Summit, Ron Gimby, Whitehaven, John Moscon, Drums, and Michael Devaney, Bern Township. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order after that brief news adjournment, today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here. Well, our man Rick Bigelow, he's with us, and we do history, and we love history, and we need to learn from history. And we've been working our way through World War II and the various battles that have taken place. The Battle of the Rhine, I guess you could call it the penultimate battle of World War II. That's our subject today. And here he is, the man, Rick Bigelow. How are you, Rick?
Doing great, Bob. How about you?
Always good to have. I'm always better when you're on. I just am, and I mean it. I know I'm going to learn a lot, and I know I'm going to get no BS. Could you do any better than that? No. All right, Rick, take us there. Take us there.
Okay, so after the Battle of the Bulge, we were kind of back to where things started by late January, early February of 1945. And at this point in time, we were resuming our broad front approach, going into Germany. We'd already gotten into Germany, had a toehold in Germany, and were pushing forward. The next big barrier, and probably the last significant barrier to getting all the way into the heart of Germany and into the industrial Ruhr and Saar valleys, was the Rhine River. So the Rhine River at many places in Germany was up to 1,000 feet wide, and it was a swiftly flowing river. So it was going to be a significant obstacle. And, of course, as the German troops withdrew into the heart of Germany, they were blowing all the bridges. And so we knew we had to get across the Rhine somehow, and there were a couple different ways to do it. One was to look for a bridge that was still intact that we could take and cross over, and the other way was to have another large amphibious type and airborne type invasion and drop behind the lines and have landing craft and ducks and so on and so forth, transit the river and get our troops over there. So we were looking to cross the river, get into Germany, and basically take the industrial Ruhr and Saar valleys so that we could stop the German production of war materials. So we were always looking for that bridge that we could take, and we were amazed that we found a bridge that was still intact, and that was at a little town called Remagen that transited there was a bridge that transited the Rhine at Remagen, and it was still intact, and it was packed with German soldiers and civilians who were trying to flee the Americans and the other Allied armies that were coming along. So on March 7th, 1945, scouts from the U.S. Ninth Armored Division, which was part of General Courtney Hodges' 1st U.S. Army, arrived at Remagen and were stunned to find the bridge, the Ludendorff Bridge, was intact. Now, that was a combined passenger or, walking bridge, rail bridge, and road bridge. So you could get everything across that bridge. So they reported back to the headquarters, and they some newly arrived Pershing tanks, which were taking over for the Sherman tanks, quickly overwhelmed the town of Remagen, and the Americans focused on capturing the bridge. The Germans tried twice to blow the bridge. The explosive did not detonate on the first try. On the second try, the explosive detonated, but only damaged the bridge slightly. So investigation later on showed that the wrong explosives had been sent to Remagen, which were insufficient to destroy the bridge. The officer in charge of the demolition...
how'd that officer make out?
Not very well. This guy was named Major Hans Schiller. He was arrested and quickly sentenced to be shot. He was allowed to write a letter to his wife before he was executed, and the SS tore up and burned his letter. Bob, many times you've made the analogy of the SS and the Gestapo to the IRGC in Iran, and I think that's a highly appropriate analogy. They were just brutal. At this point in the war, Hitler had instituted something called flying court-martials. They reported directly to him, and he would, if something happened like this bridge didn't blow, he would send these flying court-martials, and they'd fly in an airplane to Remagen. They had a summary kangaroo court, and within hours they executed the offending officers, usually by hanging or firing squad. And the defendants weren't allowed to testify or anything like that. So it was summary justice in the extreme. And during the war, something like 15,000 German soldiers were executed, and several thousand more committed suicide before they were tried by these flying court-martials. So it's just amazing.
Now, the bridge at Remagen eventually collapses, but we had gotten about, 25,000 troops across?
We did. And when the bridge collapsed, and the bridge had been damaged, and so, we were getting all kinds of tanks and other vehicles across, and the Germans were trying to blow up the bridge. In fact, they actually used their V-2 rockets and other special weapons to try to damage it. So the bridge collapsed. And when the bridge collapsed, our engineers were on it, trying to reinforce it and strengthen it. And 28 of those engineers were killed when the bridge collapsed. But we got 25,000 people across, and we were also building all kinds of pontoon bridges and other bridges. So that was the first incursion into Germany. The next one was going to be up at a town called Wesel, which is in the northern part of our broad front. That's about 80 miles north of Remagen. And Monty's 21st Army Group was preparing to cross. He had 1.2 million men that were going to cross the river with all kinds of amphibious craft, and the largest airborne drop of the war, larger than Normandy and larger than Operation Market Garden. He
had suffered no personal consequence for Market Garden's failure.
Well, other than the fact that Eisenhower wasn't going to let him go off on his own and charge into Berlin. Monty wanted to go into Berlin with a big parade and all that sort of stuff, but Eisenhower wasn't going to let him do it. And of course, this is where we got into politics, where we had to, assuage the feelings of the British, and Churchill was micromanaging a lot of the stuff that was going on, and so on and so forth. But Ike was going to let him do this one last thing, and at the same time, just before Monty started off on his big assault, Patton to the south, like 80 miles south, had sent his scouts looking for a soft spot in the German defenses and they found it at this place called Oppen in Oppenheim in Germany, and he sent scouts over, and they determined that the town was only lightly defended, and most of the experienced troops had been sent up north because they knew Monty was going to have this huge airborne and waterborne assault. So Patton actually at night, very quietly, got his troops across, and so he got thousands of troops across before Montgomery ever started his assault, and he got them across with virtually no casualties, and he started to move north, and he had a big tank battalion and regiment that were starting to stream north. Interesting thing about this town of Oppenheim, it most likely is the ancestral home of one J. Robert Oppenheimer, with the Manhattan Project fame. So it was ironic, I guess you'd say, or whatever, that one of the
Patton,
first incursions.
I want to touch on this when we come back. Patton has embarrassed and proven himself the better, more skillful general versus Monty once again.
Yep.
Hilarious. Let's take a break. Rick Bigelow's our guest. The Battle of the Rhine is our topic. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Murph tells us the Beatles, this date 1966, they had their 10th number one hit in the UK with Paperback Writer. And you heard the tape. That was the Nixon tapes. 1972, this date. Nixon and White House Chief of Staff H.R. Haldeman discussed using the CIA to obstruct the FBI's Watergate investigation. The revelation of this tape recording would spark Nixon's resignation in 1974. Quite amazing. It's amazing to hear them. And the discussing without understanding the implications of what they were saying. And Haldeman didn't know they were being taped. Nixon did. That's the shocking thing. Astonishing. Well, we left off at Patton's exciting sort of sub rosa crossing of the Rhine near Mainz. And it was fabulously successful. And one of the things that Rick had pointed out to me, Patton called Bradley and said, "Brad, I'm across the Rhine. Tell Ike," and hung up. And then he unceremoniously or ceremoniously took a whiz in the Rhine, saying, "I always wanted to do this." Oh, hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. So, Rick, the last battle, major battle, was in the industrial Ruhr Valley.
Right. And several U.S. armies basically encircled the Ruhr Valley, and there was significant fighting that went on there for 3 weeks. But finally, we took it, and 317,000 German POWs were taken. And this was more than in the mass surrenders in Tunisia or in Stalingrad. So, basically that was the last gasp of the German army. And we started moving further to the east. In fact, Patton's Third Army, within a week of the crossing, was 150 miles east of the Rhine, and they were sprinting towards the Czech border. So we're getting close to the Russians at this point in time, and there was a lot of concern about, if we see the Russians, we think they're Germans, we fire on them, they fire on us. There could have been a lot of unintended casualties. So Ike made the decision, and I think he did it with the approval of General Marshall, that Berlin had no strategic military value, and therefore he decided to let the Russians take Berlin and take massive casualties. And he announced that the Western Allies would not proceed to Berlin on March 28th, 1945. And of course, this was consistent with what FDR and Churchill and Stalin agreed to at Yalta. And, as a footnote, within a couple of weeks, FDR was dead, and he was dealing with Truman. Churchill and Monty were furious because they wanted to keep Berlin from the Soviets, but Ike and the Americans, and, frankly, the Americans were running the show at this point in time, we decided not to take it. The Russians assaulted Berlin. They took 300,000 fatalities. That's not wounded.
Mind-boggling. And, I mean, boy, does it make Ike's decision look like genius.
Yeah, without a doubt. And would that many Americans have died? Probably not, because the Russians had no compunction about just sending their infantry in and having them be fodder. And in fact, the Russians had enforcement squads that were trailing the lead infantry, and if anybody ran away or tried to surrender or something like that, the enforcement squads, which were kind of like KGB type guys, would shoot the Russians. So.
You mentioned in your text that we started to discover the concentration camps, and I walk my dog Chauncey past a Hometown Heroes banner for an Irving Cater, who we honored at one time on the program. He went from Africa all the way up the Italian peninsula and into Germany, and because he spoke Yiddish, he was able to translate at one of the camps. So I mean, they were uncovering this horror as they moved forward.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, most of the GIs didn't know anything about it. I think probably the generals and the diplomats knew that there was something really bad going on there, but it was such a shock to the average soldier when they got there that it was just incredible. And speaking of German and Yiddish speakers, as we would conquer these towns in Germany, we would try to get them up and running, run the water systems, run the electricity and local government and so on and so forth. And German-speaking Americans were in demand. And so there was this one sergeant who took over this one little town and got it up and running in no time at all, very efficiently. He was a sergeant named Henry Kissinger.
Oh, my gosh. How about that?
Yeah, there's so many people who in the 60s and 70s took prominent positions in the U.S. government who were World War II veterans.
And deservedly so, and their experiences made the government actually work. Wow. So World War II in Europe is over just 6 weeks after the Rhine crossings. Hitler's dead, and the forces in the Netherlands, northern Germany, they surrender to Monty, and the Cold War against the Soviets begins almost immediately.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Well, Rick Bigelow, thank you so much. We appreciate it. This was the end of the war in Europe, and it is an amazing history.
Absolutely.
Rick Bigelow, patent attorney extraordinaire, but he's our historian. He's going to do a big presentation at Penn State tomorrow, right, Rick?
Yeah, that's right, on the Battle of the Atlantic.
Fantastic. Well, we hope to get a distilled version of that at some point soon, but we thank you for being here today.
Glad to do it, Bob.
All right, our man Rick Bigelow. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute brought to you always by our man John Basiliga. And we talk on Tuesdays about his Serenity Care personal care community. 4 amazing, beautiful facilities in the Mid-Valley section, Old Forge, and the southern tip of Lackawanna County as well, Old Forge. Wyoming, Kingston, all completely renovated, accepting new residents, all-inclusive monthly rent, state-of-the-art private, semi-private, and companion suites, individually controlled heating in each room, daily housekeeping and laundry, freshly prepared restaurant-quality meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Beautiful communal areas. The best in senior care living. Serenity Care. John Romanowski. He was 88 when we lost him June 2nd. Actually, the youngest of our veterans today. He was at the Gino Murley Veterans Center in Scranton. Husband of the late Nancy Romanowski, who passed in 2009. Born in Wilkes-Barre, he was a graduate of GAR High School. He went on to honorably serve his country in the United States Navy. He worked as a stockbroker for Bear Stearns in New York and later for Acme Warehouses. John loved gardening, especially growing tomatoes. Survivors include daughter Lisa Devaney and husband Thomas of Clark Summit, son John Jr. and his wife Ruth Ann of Scranton, William Romanowski and his wife Joyce of Sawyerville. He's also survived by grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and other family members. John Romanowski. Ronald Ron Gimby. Could be Jimby. 92. We lost him June 10th. He was from Whitehaven. Born in Whitehaven, he grew up in Weatherly. Proud Air Force veteran, serving in England and Scott Air Force Base. As a civilian, he had a long career at Tobyhanna Army Depot as an electronic equipment inspector, at which time he volunteered for duty in Vietnam. He held great fondness for the people that he grew up with and met throughout his journey in life. He was a man of strong faith, principles, and convictions. He's survived by his loving wife for 52 years, Janice Hinkle Jimby. His children, Mark and Richard, 5 grandchildren, tragically predeceased by a daughter, Bonnie. Ron Jimby. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Serenity Care, the senior living personal care community. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the gang that's ready for summer fun at Montage Mountain. Today, cloudy in the morning with a couple of showers, followed by clouds giving way to some sun. It'll be 76 this afternoon. Tonight, a crystal clear sky, low 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and pleasant, high 82, low 54. Thursday, increasing cloudiness with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high 84, low 63. Friday, times of clouds and sun with a shower in places. It'll be humid, high 78, low 62. Saturday, cloudy and humid with a shower possible, 81 degrees, low 60. The natural weather brought to by the gang at Montage Mountain and the water park, where it is 64 degrees as I speak. That's the Democrat Party. Chain of Fools. This day, 1967. Aretha Franklin recorder hit Chain of Fools at Atlantic Recording Studios, New York City. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. We had Maria Bartoletti calling about big doings in Old Forge. Maybe she'll get back to us. Mother Teresa, St. Teresa for June 23rd. In the meantime, a joyful heart is the normal result of a heart burning with love. Joy is simply not simply a matter of temperament. It is always hard to remain joyful. All the more reason why we should try to acquire it and encourage it to grow in our hearts. St. Teresa, Mother Teresa for June 23rd. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Murph tells us this date, 1969, and what a great batch of songs we have today. Neil Diamond released his iconic hit, Sweet Caroline. Bob Cordaro back with you on Bob Cordaro on the program with you. Well, we lost Marilyn, who was calling in about Old Forge. And something neat that my friend Mark Wozniak wanted me to tell you about it. So we'll see if we get her. Somebody asked when and where is Rick Bigelow presenting on the Atlantic, the Battle of the Atlantic, and it's at Penn State. It's at Penn State University. Now, I don't know exactly where, but I texted him for where it is. And I just love his stuff. You learn so much. And this is very important. Somebody texted Bob LTS. I don't remember this, but remember when Penn State wouldn't play Sweet Caroline anymore in the stadium because of Sandusky? Oh, my God, how woke, says Slick. Yeah, Penn State's administration, woke beyond comprehension. Woke beyond comprehension. And I've told you this. Until the Paterno, and I told my buddies, Chet Parlavecchi, these guys, Mike Munchak, I told them in years past, I said, until they put the Joe Paterno statue back up, I am not interested in anything Penn State. Just not. Although then my friend Wade Sebastianelli passed on, so I'm back at it. All right, my Bacardo Jewelers watch says it's 10:50. We'll be back. Nice song, huh? We play that for a lot of the Democrats who have wised up as to what disaster their party has become. Johnny Nash, Murph tells us, this date 1972, released that hit Signal. I can see clearly now. Bob Carr back with you on the eponymous program. A bunch of people asking about the Rick Bigelow thing. Now, I don't know how easy it will be to translate this, but he's giving a seminar on the Battle of the Atlantic. We'll get an abbreviated version at some point again soon. We've done it before. But it's 1:30 p.m. at Innovation Park. You have to sign up through Penn State Ollie, O-L-L-I. Penn State Ollie. It's the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. And you sign up, and I guess you either go or you might be able to see it online. And maybe there'll be a Zoom link that I'm going to tell him, send the Zoom. Send the Zoom, and then I can let you guys know. It's really, because when there's such depth to his knowledge of these events. There's not a question that I've asked him off the top of my head that he hasn't been able to completely and thoroughly respond to. The guy's he's a patent attorney, which means he's an extraordinary scientist, an extraordinary lawyer, and he's a veteran, but he's also, as was his dad, he's also a great lawyer. By the way, somebody texts in, Paige is in town. Just spotted her in the Boy King Bill Gone going into City Hall. What's up with that? There's a press conference regarding the watch parties for the FIFA, for the soccer. So county and city officials, they're all trying to pretend that they're great and that they did something amazing. That's what they're doing. Anyway, somebody points out, Bob, LTS, 1972 flood, Hurricane Agnes, 54 years ago today. Well, you don't think we'd overlook that, would you? We would not. And our friend David DeCosmo got in touch and said, he told me the same thing. I said, what time are you calling? So he's going to call in on this 54th anniversary right after the newscast. It's you think about local history, it is probably, you could tell me your thoughts. Agnes flood has got to be the biggest, most substantial local history story, most substantial event, most impactful event in the history of Northeast Pennsylvania. I can't think of any other. Now, of course, we provided more people, Northeast Pennsylvania, for our military service, the war, all of that, than any place. Pound for pound, we are the champions, period. We really are. So, in any event. Hey, it is time for the news as I look at my Picardo Jewelers watch. And I just want to remind you, it's dads and grads. Well, it's grads now. And anybody else. And they've got the best watch store that you'll ever go to. They've got Raymond Wild, Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Ball Watches, Tory Burch, Victorinox, Bulova, G-Shock. That's why they tell us the time. And Picardo Jewelers' time is 11 o'clock. We'll be back after the news with our man, David DeCosmo, and the Agnes Flood. Secretary Kennedy and Todd Blanche, the AG, announcing they discovered over $6.3 billion in welfare fraud. They're only scratching the surface. This scam is off the charts. Great good morning, everyone. It's 11:07 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful Tuesday, June 23rd, year of our Lord 2026, here in the great Northeast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care personal care community, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John, like John Moscon, drums, Michael Devaney, Bern Township, Ron Jimby, Whitehaven, John Romanowski, Clark Summit, Rudolph Jubei, Hazleton, Harry Reese, Avoca, Music, and West Falls. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here. Well, this is the 54th anniversary of the Agnes flood, 1972. And there's not a better source because he was not only in the middle of it as a reporter, he actually took an official position, keeping communication, the lines of communication open, and that's our man, David DeCosmo. Yes, he has his own theme song. So when you hear, what's that, Flight of the Cue Balls, what's it called? We know, when we hear Henry Mancini, we know David is here. David, welcome back to the Bob Cordaro Show. How are you, man?
Doing fine, Bob. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Well, for whatever, coincidentally, you know how on your phone old pictures pop up? There's a picture of you and Mark Davis and myself in the studio. My best guess is that it was Agnes related. It was either Agnes related or we did. We also had you in here about the mine disaster at one time, but in any event, good stuff. Hey, David, take us back to June 23rd, 1972. What were you experiencing? What was happening?
I guess I'd have to take us back even a day before that, Bob.
Okay.
And if you really look back at things, maybe even more, because we had a June in northeastern Pennsylvania that was rain after rain after rain. And in the meantime, in the midst of June, Hurricane Agnes was speeding up the coast. So we already knew that the ground throughout northeastern Pennsylvania was saturated with water, really couldn't take any more. Hurricane Agnes comes through, dumps more rain, slows down in velocity and becomes a tropical storm, heads slightly north of us and doubles back. And so as a tropical storm, Agnes hit us twice, once as a hurricane, once as a tropical storm. It was very, very obvious on June 22nd of 1972 that this area might very well be in trouble. The streams and the creeks were all filled with water. The ground was saturated. The river was already high. And all eyes went north because you can tell what's going to happen in the river here in Wyoming Valley by what's happening upstream in the Towanda area. And it was literally neck and neck, nip and tuck. Could we make it? I was literally drafted. I was the news director of WILK, but I was drafted as the public information officer for Luzerne County Civil Defense. so that we could coordinate all of the accurate information being dispersed to the public. And on the 22nd, we still had hope, and we called for 10,000 people to put sandbags along the riverbanks, and we got them, Bob. We got college students, we got high school students, we got people from leaving their work, people from leaving their homes who were desperately trying to sandbag the river just beyond the Luzerne County Courthouse. On the 23rd, on this anniversary date, we got a river reading from Towanda that showed us there was no possibility that we could stop it anymore.
Wow.
General Frank Townend, who headed civil defense, called for an evacuation. The siren sounded, and I made my most famous on-air words, get out now. You still have time, but the river's starting to come over. And
how much time was there, David, from when those when there was a stark realization that the river was going to flood its banks probably substantially with that reading and what was going on in Towanda? How much time did they suspect there was?
We knew we probably had a half hour or an hour until we started to see really breaches over the levee system, and so they were still manning the sandbags then. So we had to sound the sirens, and I can still recall seeing the people running from the levee system, getting away from it because they were immediately in harm's way, if you will. And there was a thought that maybe the evacuation should have happened earlier. But, Bob, in order to do that, the evacuation would have had to start late on the day of the 22nd, so you'd have an evacuation that was going into the nighttime hours. Yeah. And as soon as that river started to pour over its banks, within a very short time, we lost all communications regarding telephone. We had ham radio operators, citizens band radio operators, but we lost telephone communications. So it was devastating. I was still in the court. Remember, the Civil Defense headquarters was not in the basement of the Luzerne County Courthouse. It was in the sub-basement of the Luzerne County Courthouse. And I vividly recall doing a report and seeing water coming up from the drain in the room where I was standing. Thanks to a good friend of mine, the late Ron Giulianardo, Ron J. of WAZL Radio in Hazleton, early on he had said, Dave, why don't we expand your audience? You give us permission, we'll pick up the WILK signal, and you'll be broadcasting on both stations. Well, that led me as the PR man to decide, hey, let's see if other stations will participate. And I put together a network of 13 area radio stations that gave of their time and in many instances gave of their personnel to man this network so that once an hour for many, many days, people had legitimate, bona fide civil defense-related information. And that was key because when you think of it, look back at the figures for just a second. And we're talking 1972. The damage in Luzerne County, Wyoming Valley, $1 billion. 1972 dollars.
My word.
Statewide, $2.1 billion. So we had roughly half of the state damage right here.
And Bloomsburg got hit incredibly hard as well, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, there were other areas hurt, no question about it. But in Luzerne County, 20,000 homes, 2,700 businesses, about 150 factories out of work, and yet. Hardest hit. At the time, we thought there were 3 lives lost. Okay, when in retrospect, we look back and connect this and all the dots, we lost 6 lives. Now, it's horrible to lose any lives, but in a storm of that magnitude, President Nixon described it as the worst natural disaster to ever hit the United States up until that time. We've had worse since, but up until then, Agnes was the big one. And yet 6 lives lost in this area. And I attribute that, I'll be braggadocious, to the work of civil defense and getting people out on time to safety. A couple of those lives that were lost, by the way, at least two of them were rescue workers.
Yeah. David, how long from the time of the evacuation order to when the streets, because I was down at the Stegmeyer Mansion for my parents' anniversary, a little brunch deal, and I was thinking I would be in 10 or 12 feet of water as I'm going down South Franklin Street. How long until that sort of peak flooding, and then how long did that peak flooding last?
Well, it probably was several hours before, the town filled up, if you will.
Yeah.
Obviously had water running into the streets from, just shortly after the evacuation siren sounded. And within a couple hours, you had water seeping into the streets. Within 6, 7, or 8 hours, now you had it building up to actual depths to where you had 6 feet of water or so on Public Square as a prime example.
My word.
The water remained high for 2 days basically, started to subside, and then you were left with pools of water. You were left with a horrible, horrible smell. Most people today remember the smell above anything else because you had mud over everything. You had mud filling basements. You had people digging basements out with fish inside. Well, it wasn't until, and I may be off on this, it seems to me 3 or 4 days later till people were even allowed back into the devastated area. We had martial law for a couple of days. I went in a deuce-and-a-half Army truck with some of the other people. We were the first back in to see things. And General Townend wanted the media to be on that cruise, first ones back in, because he wanted to give people some kind of forewarning as to what they were about to see.
Yeah.
Because it was utter devastation. There were a few houses that were gone. I mean, a lot of houses were wrecked and slanting to the side, but there were a number of houses gone. And General Townend wanted people to get a little bit of a taste of this before they actually saw it, hoping that might modify the hit just a little bit.
Yeah.
Make you better prepared for what you were about to see.
It really is when you traverse downtown Wilkes-Barre, when you traverse Kingston, when you traverse and go in West Pittston, and those kinds of areas. It's almost incomprehensible that the water would have been above the top of your vehicle.
Let's use Kingston as an example, Bob. As I recall, there were 3 homes, maybe a couple more, but I think 3 homes in Kingston that were not affected by the water in one way or another.
Amazing.
Of all of Kingston.
Bob B., one of our great listeners, said he was 15 years old during the Agnes flood. Remembers it like it was yesterday. His uncle lived on Frederick Street in Kingston and had to get to his house because he had valuables there. They put a boat in on Pringle Street and took the boat in. We got to the house, put the front boat to the right through the second floor window. And then as a funny aside, he says somebody opened the door on a beer distributorship, and there were 6 packs of beer floating all over the place. They loaded the boat up with beer, but unfortunately the state police were waiting, and said they made them throw it all away.
Oh, boy. Well, Northampton Street in Wilkes-Barre was a boat launch.
Yeah.
And Civil Defense called for people to voluntarily give of their boats. And a lot of people did. And they were used for rescue and checking buildings. We only lost one boat. One boat disappeared somewhere. But you consider the amount of and the time that it took to rebuild. And this is why this story is of such a great magnitude. It wasn't only the instant disaster; it was the literally years of rebuilding.
Yeah.
You now have a levee. That river, Bob, during Agnes, the river hit 40.9 feet. The new levee system, which took years to put into place, now protects for 41 feet. And the thing I'm asked most of all is, can it happen again? And I always answer the same way. Absolutely. Yeah. Mother Nature does not go by any of our rules or our dynamics or our measurements. And the fact of the matter is that even if we had the same exact river level and Wilkes-Barre were to be protected because of that little additional height, other areas would get hit harder because the river seeks its own level, and wherever it can, water seeks its own level. Wherever it can drift, it's going to drift.
David,
So it's always a possibility.
Cabinet guy, one of our great listeners, said he heard that it was upstate New York's fault because they were releasing water from dams. Is that accurate?
No, water was released on a measured basis, but it didn't contribute enough to change the dynamics of the actual river depth that we had because of the runoff and the storm. And I think one of the bigger problems in the long run was the fact that ground all along the state was saturated. Yeah. So groundwater or ground, earth that could have absorbed some of that horrible rainfall couldn't do it anymore. It was just something that we tried to beat and we couldn't. We lost it, but we came back, and most of the people forced out came back.
Yeah,
there were some that relocated, but the vast majority of people came back.
I don't know if people of today's time might take the money and run instead of rebuild.
I don't know. You know that Alan Stout from the Visitors Bureau did a documentary for the 50th anniversary. They're going to show that tomorrow at the Kirby, 1 o'clock and 7 o'clock. And I'm going to be at the 7 o'clock showing.
Neat stuff. Well, David, thank you so much. It has to be remembered. And I'll ask you the final question. This had to be the most significant event in Northeast Pennsylvania history.
Without question. Yeah. Without question.
Amazing. 54
and we're
years
still talking about it, so that proves it.
Yeah. Well, old guys like us, we love this stuff.
Hey, hang in there, buddy, and I hope all your news is good.
All right. David DeCosmo, the Agnes Flood. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute for the 11:30 hour. Brought to you by John Basiliga, as always. Great friend of the vets. Tuesdays, we feature his great senior living facilities, the Serenity Care Personal Care Community. They're in the Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County, Old Forge, in the southern tip of Lackawanna County, Wyoming, and Kingston. They are all beautiful, totally renovated. John has a passion for providing the finest quality senior living in the area and beautiful personal care homes for seniors to live in. He's done it. Serenity Care. Michael Devaney. He was 79 when we lost him, June 10th. Vietnam veteran, enjoyed hiking and biking. He was from Bern Township. Born in Bloomsburg, Mike was a U.S. Army veteran, 82nd Airborne Division, serving 3 tours in Vietnam. He was a welder at Dana Corp until its closing, then went on to be a United States Postal Service rural route mail carrier, retiring in 2015. He enjoyed hiking, biking, cross-country skiing, rugby. He also enjoyed his cabin in Sullivan County, Pennsylvania. Survived by his wife for 32 years, Teresa Bewley Devaney. Brothers, nephews, nieces, 8 great nephews and great nieces, and other family members. Michael Devaney. John Moscon. He was 98 when we lost him. He was from Drums. June 6th, the date of his passing. Born the eldest of 3 children, working to become the man his family needed after his father died in a mine accident when he was 7 years old. John was an altar boy at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Church, and his faith persisted until his death. At 18, John enlisted in the Army and was stationed in Germany at the end of World War II. John began his career as a topographer, becoming a skilled rifleman, and attended Penn State University. After breaking his leg in the service, he returned home and met the love of his life, Irene, with whom he was married for 75 years. As a child growing up on Pine Street, John walked by Hazelton Pumps daily, not knowing he'd spend his entire career working for them, both in Hazelton and Chicago. He loved his work. Although John grew up in an era without technology, he adapted as he aged, developing a love for using his laptop. Devoted golfer, traveling to Scotland to play the legendary St. Andrews course multiple times. He's survived by a sister, a daughter-in-law, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and other family members. John Moscon. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by the man, John Basiliga, and the beautiful gold standard for senior living in Northeast Pennsylvania, Serenity Care Personal Care Community. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the gang at Montage Mountain Resorts, who they've got summer covered with a beautiful water park and just a great place to hang out. Today, cloudy this morning with a couple of showers, followed by clouds giving way to some sun, 76 degrees. Tonight, a crystal clear sky, low 53. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and pleasant, 82 degrees, low of 54. Thursday, increasing cloudiness with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, 84 degrees, low of 63 Thursday. Friday, times of clouds and sun, shower in places, humid, 78 degrees, low 62. Saturday, cloudy and humid with a shower possible, high 81, low 60. And that's your weather. Brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resort, who tell me it is 66 degrees right now. Biden banner disgrace, stolen valor, day 191. The disgraceful Green Ridge Neighborhood Association, at least a majority of them, has placed a banner, a hometown hero banner for Joe Biden on North Washington Street, North Washington Avenue in the heart of Green Ridge. When they found out that these are supposed to be for veterans only and that Biden had dodged service, they didn't relent. They kept the banner up. It's day 191. It's stolen valor. It's a disgrace. And the Green Ridge Neighborhood Association is a disgrace. Biden banner disgrace. Stolen valor. Day 191. Yeah, isn't that sad? By the way, I guess you could see my scowling face as I think of the disgraceful Green Ridge Neighborhood Association and the disgraceful Joe Biden. They're perfect together. They are perfect together. They fit just like hand in glove. But it's you could check out the program on live stream, and it's all brought to you by Roach Supply. ROCHE. Roach Supply is the premier bath and kitchen supplier in the northeastern Pennsylvania area. They're celebrating 75 years in business. That means they're great at what they do. Visit roachsupply.com today, ROCHE, roachsupply.com. We love them. Family-owned business, 4th generation, 3 generations still kicking butt and taking care of people. Absolutely love it. And the hour also brought to you by our friend Tina Morocco. She is a global sales advisor at Sotheby's International Realty, Naples, Florida. You can look her up under Sotheby's or go right to the source, Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com. TinaMorocco.com or any social media. Tina Morocco, your trusted guide to Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. Hey, let's go to Bill from Pittston. Bill, how are you, man?
A little miserable about this Democrat Party. I actually called Susan Collins' office to offer support. Now, I'm not a Susan Collins great supporter, but she has to win.
Yep.
Because that Graham Plattner is crazy. And it just infuriates me to see what's going on in New York City, that they're putting up candidates that are putting proposals like murderers should not be deported. Yeah. I mean, all the insanity. And the only thing I can think of, the Democrats got their wish. They wanted to make sure that any kook could vote, but they figured they'd hold on to their office, but they didn't plan on getting kooks in there. So they opened a can of worms they can't put back together.
Yep. And
it's destroying the country. And that's why I'm supporting or gave money to contribute to Susan Collins, which I normally don't do, but I'm so incensed with this left-wing crap.
This Graham Plattner, Bill, I had said this yesterday and a couple days before. You observe him. He's mentally ill. Whatever happened to him, whatever triggers, whatever, he's mentally ill. He's not well. He should be hospitalized. He's not. And this is the Democrat nominee. It's remarkable.
Yeah, that's what gets me. I mean, they wanted to keep power, so they pushed for all these illegals to vote, but they didn't count on them wanting all these freebies and taking over the party.
Well, one of Mamdani's candidates for Congress in New York City, running against an incumbent Democrat, they asked her, should you go to jail for murder? She equivocated. She didn't think anyone should go to jail for anything. These people are straight out insane, and they are the driving force in the Democrat Party.
Yeah, that's what so disturbs me, the way this country is going. I mean, who would have ever imagined? And again, the only thing I can figure out is the Democrats opened the door by letting these crazies vote, and they've taken over the party.
But see, the Schumers of the world followed them over the cliff on issues that they previously had used common sense for. Hillary, Bill Clinton, all of them. Obama, they all were moderate in the sense they followed the lunatics off the cliff. And we got Paige Cognetti right here. They're off. They went over the cliff following the lunatics that are the driving force of the party, that are the money source of the party through billionaires and billionaire groups that actually want to destroy the country. It's amazing. And Islamists, by the way, all who want to destroy the country.
Yeah, I'm really afraid of Pagnetti getting in the office. I mean, that terrifies me because you're right. She's part of this whole plan, and people just go hook, line, and sinker for it. I wish people would wake up. I mean, my Democrat friends, they're against all those wild policies, yet they continue to vote Democrat.
Scary stuff, Bill. We got to figure out what the pathology is. Thank you, my man, always. Luciano from Luzerne County. Hi, Luciano. We got about a minute, man.
Hello, Bob, for taking my call. Yes, it's so disgusting and heartfelt, painful to hear Spanish news, Spanish noticias in Espanol when it's coming out, the truth is coming out. Even Mexicano news is exposing the truth. Over 60% of the migrants, foreigners that entered the United States in the year of 4 years that Joe Biden was in office was Mexicano. Mexicano means Mexican people. So I'm talking the truth, and the truth is finally, they're exposing it, and they're laughing in Spanish Mexican news. Is the Mexican 60%, and then 20% were coming from Latino countries like El Salvador, Nicaragua, and other countries like Asian countries and African countries. But it's hard how they criticize America. They call us United States illegal. They call us foreigners. They call us such disgusting words in Spanish. It's so heartbreaking. They call us racist. They openly in Spanish news, what we call Spanish noticias, Spanish news, they openly say it. They call us racist in Spanish TV, and it's heartbreaking and painful to hear this information and how. And by the way, I lived in California 15 plus years, and I lived a short time in Buffalo, New York, and those two cities are the most liberal cities in United States. I call them what they say in Revelation, Sodom and Gomorrah. So the New York and California, they're lost. They're completely controlled by Democratic Party, Bob. And I'll just say this. I know I disagree with you because I'm extremely hard on migrants because no other country has allowed 20+ million illegals to invade this country. And I have a soft spot for homeless people, especially homeless women, by the way. So a lot of homeless people are not evil. We should take care of our own.
Clearly.
Instead of taking care of foreigners that have invaded this country and openly laugh.
Democrat policies have
TV.
made homelessness worse. I see it myself in Scranton. It's guaranteed in California. These policies are harmful to the very people they claim they're for. They're insane, and that's the facts. Thanks, Luciano. We've got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll come back after this. Shout out to Anthony, who says hello on the live stream. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. And that's B.W. Stevenson. Murph tells us he recorded a really neat song. My Maria, this date 1973. Bob Cordaro back with you on the eponymous program. A couple of people commenting on the Agnes flood. Cabinet guy says, I remember seeing the boats coming to Zerby Avenue in Edwardsville. I was 8 years old. Wow. Hey, Bob Carpenter here. I live in Wyoming. I was 10 years old. I remember officials towing airplanes from the airport to the historic Wyoming Monument. Our police chief's last name was Gilligan. They dubbed our town Gilligan's Island. We were surrounded by water. Another listener, I was 10 years old, and I lived on one of the hills above Plymouth, and sitting on a calm bank above the town and watched as the houses were being lifted off their foundations and floating away. The Agnes flood. Hey, Bob, here's a flood story. I was 23 at the time. My friends and I were sandbagging near the Market Street Bridge for hours. A guy pulled up in a pretty new Impala convertible with the top down, as it wasn't raining at the time. He called us over and called us a-holes for sandbagging. I told him, hold on a minute. Then I pulled out my shovel with sand on it. I proceeded to throw sand on him, and he took off. I guess because I was 6'3" and 200 pounds, it gave him a reason to speed away, says Jerry K. He deserved the sand in the Caprice, or Impala, I'm sorry. He deserved the sand. My goshes. Somebody questioning a comment, Schumer and Clinton moderate, what are you smoking? No. You got to listen to the full sentences. They had moderate positions at one time. We play them all the time. They're sickening, and they're now the exact opposite. They followed the lunatics down the rabbit hole, and now they're getting burned by it, which they deservedly so. By the way, somebody said the biggest story no one's talking about is Fauci's cover-up and criminality, and not a word about it. You won't hear it on mainstream media. You heard it here. We played the full statement by former DNI, and it's true. He's a criminal. Lives were lost because of him. Quite amazing. Somebody says, talk about Biden more, LOL. Good strategy to avoid talking about Trump. I'll talk about Trump all day if you want. I'll give you his failings. Common sense is being applied to virtually every issue. He saved us, at least for the short term, from the lunacy of the Iranian Nazis. And I could go through all of his other policies, And by the way, you know better. And if they didn't have the Biden banner up, I could save time. I wouldn't talk about Biden every day. But now I will. Ad nauseum. Well, we're finishing with Disturbed. Number 5 with their version of the Simon & Garfunkel classic Sound of Silence. This date, 2016. And we thank our man Larry from Pittston for that. But, hey, it is time. We have to go. No matter what I say. Ricardo's Jeweler's watch tells me it's noon. I'm done. Sue Henry show next. Rob O'Donnell show after that. But for now, I must gavel to a close today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense. Have a great afternoon. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning. Adios.